For millions of years, birds have had the skies to themselves. Free and unconstrained, they float on thermal winds. But aircraft has increasingly encroached on their space. Full flight collisions between birds and aircraft can end in disaster. Over recent years, aviation has experienced astonishing technical development. Although air transport is the safest in the world, bird aircraft strikes remain an inherent danger at every airport. This risk is not solely confined to the International Airport of Geneva, but concerns airports worldwide. Every airport manager must keep this clearly in mind and provide for maximum risk reduction.
À réduire au maximum ce risque par toute une série de dispositions.
The risks are real. Bird strike damage can be serious and is difficult to evaluate when in flight. The Airport Security Service must be ready to assume responsibility whenever a pilot reports a bird strike. A multiple collision with several small birds may prove to be just as dangerous as a collision with a single larger one. Although not all bird strikes provoke serious incidents, it is imperative to follow the safety procedures recommended by the ICAO. Damage is assessed during technical inspections and necessary repairs are carried out. That may range from damage to a wing's leading edge to engine destruction. Damages can sometimes approach €1 million. Various areas are exposed to impact risk. Tail and rudder, 1%. Undercarriage, almost 7%. Fuselage, 8%. Leading edge of the wings, 11%. Radome, almost 31%. And the engines, 39%. Safety experts and aircraft designers have focused special attention on engines, the most risk-exposed components. Essential improvements have been made relating to output and to the reduction of noise pollution, as well as to safety in the case of foreign object ingestion. Virtually any foreign body penetrating the compressor or combustion chamber would entail a serious risk of breakdown. The fan or blower van has been redesigned to enhance engine protection. These rotating titanium alloy blades have been tested so as to ensure resistance to particularly violent shocks. Rotation propels the bird sideways, preventing it from going into the compressor and creating problems with the engine, which is the source of power itself. The bird is ejected, thus protecting the compressor and, in the case of penetration, the combustion chamber and turbine at the rear. It can now be said that damage by birds to this type of engine has been greatly reduced.
Aujourd'hui, on peut dire que sur ce type de moteur, on a beaucoup diminué les dégâts engendrés par les oiseaux.
This progress cannot, however, prevent collision. Bird ingestion inevitably results in extensive inspection of the engine, as well as the rest of the equipment. Airports may seem inhospitable for any species of animal. Yet here, human activity is relatively limited, and the natural surroundings often attract wildlife and birds. A great diversity of species is to be found. As of today, we have recorded 90 species of birds both inside and outside the perimeter, and we may discover new species from year to year.
Recenser de nouvelles espèces.
Although birds are attracted to airport living conditions, all airports do not appreciate their presence, which is both inopportune and dangerous for flight movement. Unlike human beings, birds are not troubled by airplane noise, which makes them even more dangerous. "90% of impacts with wild birds occur in close proximity to airports. According to international statistics, the critical takeoff phase accounts for 66%. It is during this phase of flight that aircraft are most exposed to risk. Impact damage may be of two kinds: operation-related, concerning delay or flight cancellation in order to restore normal traffic patterns, or of a material nature, ranging from simple damage to mechanical components to engine or parcel fuselage destruction. Passenger inconvenience as well as air company and airport costs are not negligible. Indeed, they amount to more than $1.1 billion annually."
La Tour de Héron, bonjour.
Héron Tour, bonjour.
Héron au seuil 05 pour un contrôle de piste.
Héron autorisant piste.
Héron pénètre en piste 05 pour la 23.
To reduce collision risk, it is imperative for airports to employ qualified staff in professional prevention units. Unit members must undergo specialized training. Their effectiveness will depend upon their professionalism, dynamism, and motivation.
Bird aircraft hazard prevention entails scaring off birds, or, as far as possible, keeping them away from the airport. Bird aircraft collisions can be extremely dangerous.
A series of technical measures involving both passive and active prevention are needed to chase birds from the airport. Passive prevention consists essentially of rendering the airport's surroundings and infrastructures unattractive to wildlife. Essential navigation aids and other aeronautical equipment that might be used by wildlife for nesting or as a refuge must be kept under constant surveillance. Birds must be enticed to move their nest to areas off airport, or at least to areas within the perimeter that are not critical to flight operations. For example, swallows have been successfully induced to move far from the runway by creating artificial nests elsewhere, which greatly reduce the risks to their species. We can introduce so-called passive measures, such as setting up panels with spikes or making certain there are no bushes or trees on which birds can perch, and thus create a danger to air traffic.
Good afternoon. Startup approved, clearance London City.
To improve the effectiveness of bird hazard prevention, collaboration with environmental experts is critical. Hay meadows within an airport are an attractive environment for wildlife. Birds of prey will find it a very interesting hunting ground. To limit their presence, it can be useful to leave the grass high. They will then find it difficult to locate their prey and will move on looking for more suitable hunting grounds. However, high grass may create other problems allied to safety, such as the risk of fire or interference with radar soul imagery. That is why, even with a tall grass program, maintenance work at an operational level may prove necessary. Yet mowing itself may attract wildlife, as seeds are often dislodged from plants. For the most sensitive areas or for those closest to the runway, mowing can take place at night if necessary. An in-depth environmental study of the airport site will enable a better understanding of the ecological and biological situation of the airport surroundings in order to choose the correct wildlife management strategies. Active prevention reinforces passive prevention. The latter mainly consists of frightening the birds away. Some pyrotechnic or acoustic devices can be used. At the pyrotechnical level, therefore, we have three possibilities. The whistling rocket, a small whistling device that travels 75 meters. The medium device, called the 26.5, which goes 150 meters and emits 125 decibels at takeoff and when it explodes. The third has a small engine at the rear. This cartridge silently travels 400 meters. Explosives can be dangerous and should be used only with the tightest safety precautions. Natural or synthesized cries of distress are an equally efficient and less hazardous means of scaring off birds.
We now have a device for emitting the distress cries of birds, thanks to loudspeakers on the roof. More or less 20 species can appear. We use various distress cries according to the species that are present.
Vehicles must always contain equipment for monitoring proactive prevention strategies.
We have boxes for wounded birds to be placed either on the runway or within the airport perimeter, nets to capture them, a small reserve of ammunition in the red box that you see here, together with the weapons most frequently employed in APP. Of course, devices are worn to protect hearing while shooting. This is the handbook on protection from birds with a summary of the most dangerous species to be found in Geneva International Airport, as well as the most efficient ways of scaring them off.
Birds may also be scared off by means of gas-propelled generators. These are strategically placed around the airport and activated by remote control. We are currently trying out certain devices, especially those using laser beams. This technology is bearing fruit, but takes a long time to develop and is therefore expensive. We shall probably be using such new tools in the future. But for the moment, we're working on sound effects, electronic sound effects designed in such a way that birds do not become accustomed to them. Methods employed for displacing wildlife must be correctly applied in order to be effective. If they are applied too regularly, or if they are ill-adapted to the species, certain creatures will grow accustomed to them. An inventory, as well as a behavioral study of species living in or around the airport, is essential for optimizing and ensuring an appropriate use of these methods. A listing of species involved in collisions will reveal the degree of threat from those that frequent the airport. The cost of these measures is negligible in comparison with the damage that may be caused. An effective collaboration within the airport will enable an optimization of and reduction in investments allotted to preventing bird strike hazard. Organization. Indispensable collaboration between all the airport services and those concerned. Creation of a professional unit for the prevention of bird aircraft strike hazard and for wildlife management. Environmental study. Ecological study of the airport environment and its surroundings. Inventory of the species within and around the airport site. Passive measures. Adapting infrastructures that might serve as perches. Conditioning or restricting the nesting of certain species. Controlling the airport surroundings in a suitable way. Active measures. Scaring off the birds with pyrotechnic and acoustic means. Pistols and rocket launchers. Noise generators. Cries of distress. The struggle against danger involves the participation of all airport services and environmental scientists in their shared concern for safety. Every airport is an individual and particular case. Thanks to ecological and zoological studies of the airport site, use of both active and passive prevention appropriate to the environment, and to an uninterrupted surveillance, bird aircraft strike hazard should decline and thus increase everyone's comfort and safety.
You have seen the proven methods which are in use at Geneva International Airport. I commend these to you in your own efforts to manage this challenging problem on your own airfields. The Airports Council International World Headquarters in Geneva is always here to help you, the members, with our informational materials, conferences, and training seminars. Please call upon us at any time. And best wishes for success in your efforts to manage the challenge of bird hazards at your airport.
Les oiseaux ont longtemps été les seuls à sillonner le ciel, libres et sans contrainte, se laissant vagabonder à la guise des brises thermiques. Mais les avions fréquentent également leur espace. Le choc d'un oiseau ou plusieurs oiseaux avec un avion en plein vol pourrait se solder par une catastrophe aérienne.